Hello. Um, this is going to be a video for some build updates, essentially, with some frames that got some quality of life and augment changes. Uh, part part if I sound a little scratchy or congested, I've got some terrible summer allergy thing going on or something. Anyways, here's my boy Frost, generally my main. Few things to go over with him. We'll spawn some guys. I don't know what's with that weird enemy level. Uh, yeah, sure, we'll just do that. All right. So Frost got a few changes. One is I'm using a tank Galaxian it's a gas Galaxian that turns cold when I cast Freeze Force. Uh, it's just an easy way to get some extra energy orbs, and Frost's crit bonus helps some of this stuff, crit damage stuff, come up a little more consistently than it would otherwise. It's a magnetic Galaxian just for a tiny bit of additional damage on occasionally on Xmas. If you want that build, there you go. Frost himself. He's got a new passive. He gets armor for enemies inflicted with cold status. So if I go prime a bunch of suckers up, you can see I've got 200 armor from cold status. Another side effect is he gets boosted overguard for enemies that are cold around him when he hits it. That was a failure, wasn't it? 1 second. Got to pick up my energy before I did this. So yeah, if you zap a bunch of enemies with cold, you'll get extra overguard for hitting them with that. The other ways you get cold on, that's with Icy Avalanche Augment, by the way. That won't normally happen, you don't get overguard. This got an area of effect. The area effect does 6 procs. If you get a direct hit, you'll get the full 10. Or you can shoot it twice. It's up to you. Ice Wave basically didn't change. Snow Globe puts a few more procs on people when you do that. Or they get procs when they come in now. And you can shoot through it. We didn't get any improved UI for Snow Globe health. It's kind of annoying. That pretty much covers Frost. My build didn't significantly change either. I'll show you the one I'm currently using with this Galaxian, and then I can show you the old viral one still sitting over here. Freeze Force, you could actually get rid of this continuity. It's not even terribly useful, and put Archon Flow back in there. Arcane Battery, if you really don't have the slot for Archon Flow, you can put this on, but otherwise I'd go with Archon Flow. That extra energy orb seems to outperform this in general. That said, this is the build that goes with the Galaxian that makes all the energy orbs, so I don't really care about the extra one. Then what else was there? Oh, Arcane Ice Storm. I've seen lots of people online and in missions say you should put this on Frost. No, this is not for Frost. There is a duration, but you're gonna destroy them because their armor's gonna be gone before that duration's up. The strength will give you a little more overguard, but you can just cast it again as needed. The armor reduction, once you've got 100, you don't need any more. You can see we've got 100 at a fairly low strength amount. Snow Globe again. Strength will add to it. You can just cast it again, and it scales better off your armor and other enemies. And it also has a hard cap on its health to begin with. It can only go up to 1,000,000, if I recall correctly. Ice Wave doesn't care about strength, unless you're trying to do damage with it, in which case you're a crazy person. Freeze duration kind of matters if you're running the augment, maybe, but that's a very few people use the ability. Never mind the augment. Over here again, freeze duration, it's plenty as is, and freeze force. Also, I can take the continuity off even, and you'll see Yeah, that's got plenty of duration to start with. So yeah, he doesn't need duration, and it's highly questionable how much strength you'd actually want on him. You need enough for his armor point, break points, and then everything else is kind of eh. Not honestly sure who I would recommend Arcane Ice Storm on. I mean, you can throw it on any random person and shoot with like a primer beam or something, or have your companion create the gold procs, but yeah, the actual frames that do the cold status, not so much. So that pretty much covers Frost and his changes. We'll be back in a minute with Ember. And remember to like, follow, and subscribe if you've enjoyed this so far, and let me know. Here's Ember. So Ember got a few new changes. First one was to her passive. Let's see if I can do this. You see down in the bottom right there, I get my power strength bonus for enemies being on fire near me. That was an interesting effect of line of sight, but... So yeah, that didn't change, it's just more visible on your UI. It's not a random buff in the pile at the top. Her one, which I mostly use for the Fireball Frenzy buff, but that aside, you don't have to charge it up anymore. But you see, it's still not terribly effective. Or two, if you max out the energy meter, it doesn't burn your energy quite as fast. It's still an annoying downside that no other Warframe has to do to get 90% damage reduction. Like Baruch and Trinity and Jade. No, Jade doesn't have 90%. But yeah. Lots of other frames can get that damage reduction, if not higher, without any kind of penalty. And when you do her armor strip, it burns down your damage reduction. Again, nothing. The armor strip has been helped a little bit by the reduction in armor, so you don't need to have it full strength, so... Not sure why his AI's busted to let him out, but... Yeah, they softened the downsides on Ember, but... They haven't made her good. World on Fire, or it's not World, it's Inferno now. My mistake. Main thing, this actually does heat procs now.
Move and strike. We have to win this.
So yeah, it's slightly better. But yeah, it's still underwhelming. Nothing to write home about at the end of the day. My problem with Ember, and this is where you have frames that someone needs a rework really stand out, is Ghost does everything Ember does. Ghost can also augment for a damage buff to fire or cold, which allows him to independently make blast, which is also a better status now. He knew this, and there's a couple of things that will slip by, but he can basically become 100% invulnerable while gaining energy from being shot instead of having the 90% that constantly drains him. He can armor strip with his thermal sunder. In the I light the entire room on fire and crowd control scenario, he thermal sunder again does that very well. It can light everyone on fire. It can turn them all to ice statues if you want crowd control. It can do all of that at once. Is this a symbol that Ember's bad or that Ghost is very good? Kind of both. Ghost arguably has way too much utility, and Ember is really stuck in... when Ember got reworked last time, a lot of the stuff she did was Gauss didn't exist yet, for one, if as I recall. But yeah, like armor strips and damage reduction were not nearly as common. I don't think adaptation existed yet either. So yeah, it was, ooh, I can be a tank and I get armor strip and I have to juggle this annoying energy drain and stuff, but it had more tangible benefits and it wasn't a weird outlier and being the only negative internal synergy in the entire game. And consequently, she's still stuck in that mire and she's still stuck with a direct comparative frame that does all her jobs and more better than she does. The one exception is she can get slightly higher on this augmented fire damage buff if you're doing a heat inherit build. That's a niche concern at best. You don't even need heat inherit to kill level whatever these are. It's supposed to let me go higher on this one, but like I can just roll in here and go boop, boop. And they're basically dead because, you know, armor strip. If I'm having to put a heat inherit build in there and prime up with a pistol to shoot with another gun or whatever, it's just a whole lot of extra steps that don't really apply in most situations. Anyways, we'll be back with Sevagoth, I believe, is next. Alright, and here's our good old Dark Pirate Undead Necromancer Lifeguard buddy. Isn't that a mouthful? Sevagoth! No actual changes to Sevagoth's main kits. The main thing is he got this Dark Propagation Augment. When enemies are killed while infected with So, it spreads an effect in 15 meters radius, and the Shadow's Death Harvest also inflicts So. So can also just be recast in general now. This doesn't make Sevagoth so much more powerful as it makes him more automated. And I'm fully expecting that to be nerfed so that when So is recast automatically, it's not going to put in the seed or the bomb or prime the explosion anymore. It's just going to inflict the damage over time. Because right now it is a little bit out of control. And you could always do So Reap, So Reap, So Reap, so on. But yeah, nothing terribly new with Sevagoth. You do this, basically. You can see the explosions starting to go off. And since it can be recast now, yeah, clustered together a little more than these enemies are, you would see a lot more explosions going together. And once you get them any kind of clustering, like happens in newer missions, you'll start to see a whole lot more of them getting grouped up and messed about. I can probably simulate that. Give me a second. To briefly switch my operator. Alright. Okay. So yeah, let's get them. Gotta make some dudes together. So yeah, something a little bit more along what you might see in a regular mission. Now if we do this. I fucked my energy. Okay, let's redo that whole test. Could be a decent number of guys. Okay. Ghosts are still running around, but that's fine. So put it... Make some little squads like you would find in a normal mission. One problem with this, I like this simulacrum, but the layout is kind of wonky for the enemies. I had no idea. So you do your normal Civigoth thing, inflict vulnerability, cast roar, and reap again. And low helping hand. It's actually struggling a little bit with the armor at this level of Steel Path. And it's very difficult to show off in the simulacrum. Basically, they'll keep recasting the bomb priming thing on each other, while the ghosts that spawn out of the dead ones will continue to cycle around and kill everything. If we turn off Steel Path for a second, I'll probably get better examples. There, you're starting to see the little chain reactions. And that's enough of Civigoth for now. If you look at my YouTube shorts, I've got a few shorts that show off the effect in a real mission where there's always enemies. Moving over to Dagath. I don't have a video on Dagath. Dagath also got a new augment, which is not this one. Though this is kind of... So, Dagath 3, normally you cast it. It gives you a crit damage boost. It's double against doomed enemies. And just kind of sits there. If you die, it gives you a brief invulnerability period where you generate health orbs by killing enemies. So yeah. You see the crit damage kicking in right there. There are better ways to apply that. Yeah, just kind of basically to gas 3, you would set it, forget about it, and just kind of passively have a crit damage boost, while Doom and for 1 just keep spreading each other. Half the time you wouldn't even shoot them with your weapons, because Doom and her 1 are pretty, boss on their own. Because her 1 inflicts viral, and Doom also sort of weirdly inflicts something similar. Very chunky Steel Path bombards. You just keep going like that. If you have any kind of this is basically Dagath in a nutshell. You just keep casting these 2 abilities. Whenever you don't see dudes with size on them, you recast Doom, and you just keep doing this over and over, and maybe you occasionally throw in one of these if you feel like it. Or find a particularly large group. The augmented version, I'd call it a side grade. Because the augmented version, it's on config B, right? Spectral Spirit. Instead of your crit damage being always on, you get a temporary version with invulnerability, the same as if you died with it on before. That's all well and good. She makes health orbs while she's like this, which is, nice. Then you pop out of it and you have a 20-second cooldown before you can get your crit damage back. Now, killing dudes outside of that cooldown, which is not hard, does refresh the cooldown. Let's see, we got it back there. But if you can kill enemies, if you can kill 25 enemies outside of your super form, then you could kill 25 enemies and just keep the passive buff all the time. The only other benefit this does is it automatically casts Doom when you shoot something. So, if you want to be a weapons platform Dagath, it's sort of a side grade, but it's kind of a toss-up because it's so easy to cast Doom and just spread Doom constantly. This basically doesn't take any of your weapon time away either. So yeah, I mean, it gives you a play style. You kind of go weapon mode and then you switch back to ability mode or whatever, but it doesn't really reinvent the wheel on Dagath. The thing with this is if you have a single Auger mod equipped, you're just always going to brief respite, which is literally her default aura polarity. You're always going to be shield gating anyways because you're constantly casting 2 abilities. Which is the same thing as invulnerability. Moving over to Corvex. Also not a fellow I had to build on already. Or a video. I had builds for him. Obviously, I just picked the loadout. So yeah, classic Corvex is you do this. And then classic Corvex is you picked up the energy thing. And yeah, you shoot the pillar, everything goes completely. And only the strongest of strongest would survive it. Like those heavy gunners. The Corvex augment basically doesn't super change that up. Still generally want to throw these down. But now you can do this. And anyone who actually got hit by that, because it does still have a dodgy as fuck hitbox, loses their armor and shields. Strength, depending, assuming you have the relevant strength for it. And the biggest problem with that is it's quite nice, but it's an armor shield strip. It's not reinventing the wheel with anything too unique. Biggest problem with that is the janky hitbox on those walls. You can't hit stuff below you at all, and stuff in front or above you is kind of hit and miss. The other thing is hitting 5 or more enemies is supposed to restart the duration of Chirinka pillars. I've also found that to be severely questionable in how often it actually works. Probably down to that janky hitbox again. The other person who got an augment was Protea. Now this one I don't even have equipped properly. Basically, yeah, you can just take a turret with you while you're in her 4. It has its damage capped a little bit in terms of how much combo it can get. Big problem, it's still tied to her 4, so you have to do this to hold to cancel your rewind, or you're going for the fucking motion sickness engine. Yeah, if you're moving around at all, same as her other one. I don't find this really necessary. I can just, like, Protea, it would save you energy, but Protea can just do this. And I go here and here. Then I run down the level a little bit. Oh, hey, there's more enemies over here, we'll say. And then I run down the level a bit. Oh, there's more enemies over here, we'll say. That time I ran out of energy because I wasn't paying attention, but yeah. I run down the level. Oh, look, some more enemies. Run down the level. Oh, look, some more enemies. My energize would ever actually proc. This would go much faster, but Yeah. Really niche use in that because it's bound to her 4, because they keep trying to make her 4 a thing. Her 4 would be fine if they just flipped it so you had to choose to rewind rather than choose not to rewind. That would go a long, long way. My energize has fallen off. That's why I wasn't proccing. Funny how that works. So yeah, that one I can't really put too much recommendation on. Maybe if you're really... The fact that you have to actively cancel the 4 really outweighs the not having to actively summon new turrets. And that's all our new augments. I don't recall any other particular reworks. They listed a few other things in the patch notes, but it was like we made this not work with we made this work with the other things so it doesn't bug. There was one about Atlas's Petrified, for instance, that I was interested in until I read it, and it's just like, yeah, this works with freeze now or something. All right, and that's pretty much all for this batch. If you want to see more, like, follow, subscribe, let me know. Feel free to tell me if you have found any unique uses for these augments that I have not. And we will see y'all in the next video.